Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on Boxing. Breaking news. Keshan Davis, Edwin De Los Santos is officially off after Keshan Davis fails to make the weigh-in, coming in, what was it? 4.3 pounds too much. I think that was about the weight, but needless to say, he didn't make the weight, didn't try to make the weight, and they went to negotiate, and negotiations obviously fell through, and the fight was canceled. This is very disappointing, just on the brink of Keshan Davis really breaking out in the American boxing scene against a very good opponent that I thought today he was going to make a huge statement against on a very good card full of young up-and-coming fighters. This happens. Very disappointing indeed. And the problem with a lot of these young Americans is this is not the first time we've seen people fail to make weight to defend their titles. We saw it with Tank Davis, we saw it with David Benavidez, we saw it with Shakur Stevenson. This has been a long-going trend. And unfortunately, it's not a good trend, and it definitely puts a lot of negativity towards the fighters that fail to make these weights, showing a lack of professionalism. And the irony is, Keshan Davis's name is the businessman. Well, this is just bad business. Bad business by the businessman. Now, obviously, he's not going to get paid. Might actually be fined in the process. And Edwin De Los Santos, who's already been out of the game for 18 months, is inevitably going to be out even longer now. Obviously, being out of the game probably 2 years before he probably gets back in the ring, which is also disappointing for him. Obviously, people need to make money, need to get paid, need to be fighting regularly. So this is a shame for both individuals for sure. The one abbreviation point to this is that it wasn't long ago that Keshan Davis fought his Argentinian opponent, who literally came in overweight for that fight. Yet for some reason, that fight was able to go on because Keshan Davis wasn't concerned or worried about the fact that his opponent didn't try to make weight and came in bigger. He still fought that fighter, destroyed that fighter, and got the win. Unfortunately, Edwin De Los Santos and his team don't have the same things inside them, I suppose. Don't have the same balls, the same testicles, the same confidence in their ability. Because, of course, they took this as an opportunity to pull out of a fight that many people were predicting they were going to lose anyways. So you can read into that as you may. It's just kind of a bad look for De Los Santos, who really needed this fight. And when we look at Keshan, if we say the shoe is on the other foot, we know exactly what he would do. He would have still fought. It's a shame nonetheless. He's one of my favorite fighters in boxing, and I was really looking forward to him go back to Norfolk, make a statement victory, and really launch himself as one of the best fighters in boxing today. And obviously this puts a slide on all of that. The possibility of him becoming a pound-for-pound fighter, a top 10 fighter in boxing, is obviously going to be delayed even further now because of this. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, for Top Rank, they're still okay because they have Abdullah Mason, who is now going to be headlining that card, the young phenom, one of the best young fighters in boxing. He's going to be fighting Nakatila, and obviously that's a very good opponent for him. He goes in there and does what I think he's going to do against Nakatila. It's going to be a statement win for him as well. And it's going to put him in position to eventually take over and get that WBO 135-pound title. So, that's exactly what Top Rank had planned anyway. Obviously, Keshan was going to eventually move to 140, and Abdullah Mason was inevitably going to take over that WBO title, which has been a long reigning sort of trend with Top Rank fighters. So, we're going to get a new fighter at 135 pounds, and obviously a phenomenal fighter. The only issue with him is he's young, inexperienced, and hasn't had the opponents yet on his resume. But he's young, so no rush, right? Him becoming a champion for the WBO is fantastic. Potentially, the fight between him and Muratalla to unify titles is probably even more likely than a possible Keshan Davis Muratalla fight in all reality. So, Abdullah Mason could easily become a unified champion by early 2026, before he's 20 years old, which is pretty spectacular. But we will see what happens. Obviously, I assume that's what's going to happen, but you never know. As far as Keshan Davis, ask yourself this question. If Tio Lopez was offered to Keshan Davis by Turki Al-Sheikh for the same money that they were offering Boots Ennis fight for Keshan Davis, for Tio Lopez, now the fact that he's moving to 140, the possibility of a fight between Tio and Keshan Davis, doesn't that potentially increase? Isn't this potentially the reason why this thing is happening the way it is? So that we could get a world title fight versus Tio and Keshan? I mean, we know Tio just walked away from a Devin Haney fight. We know that Turki Al-Sheikh was already talking about a Tio and Keshan Davis fight. Now the likelihood of that fight reigniting, being refueled thanks to this situation, seems pretty likely to me. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. All I know is if Tio and Keshan is the next fight for both of those fighters, for Tio's 140-pound WBO title, I think that's pretty fantastic. Let me tell you, I'd much rather see Tio fight Keshan Davis than Devin Haney, and truthfully, more than Boots Ennis. And as far as Keshan, I'd much rather see him fight Tio as opposed to Edwin De Los Santos or Raymond Muratalla. So, while it's not a good situation, and it is bad business, the prospect of bouncing back with an even bigger fight, an even more significant fight, is right there. Let me know what you think the likelihood of Tio versus Keshan next is. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing something from Turki Al-Sheikh and the fighters in relationship to this potential matchup, probably pretty soon. But let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Peace out. And remember, enjoy the card this weekend. It's unfortunate Keshan is not going to be representing, but his two brothers are still in the card. Obviously, Troy Isley's still in the card. And Abdullah Mason, one of the best young fighters in boxing, is now the headliner.